All right, we are live. This is episode 19 of the Pro Go Baduk Weichi podcast. Again, you have Seldai and
Gaza.
Gaza. We recorded this podcast one day late, didn't we?
This is a Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
recording.
We usually do it on Friday nights, but we're doing it on Saturday night, mainly because not working from home is evil. I just got too tired going to work and just fell asleep. But anyway, let's get started.
I think it's quite remarkable that we've managed to get 19 episodes once a week without missing a weekend. To be honest, I didn't think we'd be able to manage this.
All right, yeah. Well, I mean, it's gotta keep going. Now, Gaza, there's a bunch of stuff happening this week. Now let's get started with the Kuksu Mountains Cup, which we gave a preview of last week, didn't we?
Yeah, I wanted to mention something that I said in that preview. I didn't actually predict a winner of the tournament, but I did say I didn't think Shin Jinso was going to win.
Yeah.
So I didn't even predict a winner. All I predicted was one person who wasn't going to win, and well, I didn't even get that right.
Right, you gave it a ray already, but it was a remarkable tournament for many reasons. So let's go through the results, right? So you can see in the title here. Anyway, in the first round it's 16 players, right? And
yes, and there are 8 Koreans in this tournament, so they set it up so that each Korean was playing a different game.
Yeah, or playing a player from a different country. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. And so let's look at the first. Let's go down the list and look at the matchups, right? So this is basically a single knockout all the way to the final. Even the final is one game. So this is round 1. Now, Mi Yuting versus Shin Jinso.
Yeah. Can I just to give one quick preface? I also mentioned last week that the games were 1 hour with 1 60-second Byoyomi, the same as Nongshim Cup. That turns out to be incorrect. I got that information from the KBA website, but clearly the KBA website
they didn't know
is not correct. No. I'm not sure if those controls were used in the past, but it turns out that the controls used for this tournament this year were 30 minutes and 3 40-second Byoyomis. So quite different time controls to what I mentioned in last week's podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's important to note because, these games are particularly fast.
Yes, for pro standards. I mean, for online games, 20 minutes per person is pretty,
Oh, yes, but this is sort of, very rare to see international, players of this caliber in an international tournament with such fast time controls.
Yeah, exactly. I think also maybe that part of the reason why Kuksu Mountain Cup is not considered an international major because the time control is too short.
Yes, I was thinking about this, but I'm thinking that perhaps the reason why KBA doesn't consider it an international major is because it's not open to all professionals.
Right.
I checked this, and so of the 8 Koreans participating, 6 of them got direct seeds, meaning they were directly invited.
Yeah.
And Won Song-jin and Kim Ji-sok, they actually qualified, but the qualifiers only featured 12 players.
Right.
So really, there were only basically 18 players that were even given a chance to qualify in Korea.
Right.
And so basically, if you're not high rated enough, so players like this year, Choi Jong didn't even participate in the qualifiers. So players of her level, ranking and lower, weren't even given a shot. So I think maybe that's why the KBA doesn't consider it a world major, and perhaps other countries do consider it a world major. Again, the term world major is pretty frivolous, but I think that may be the biggest difference. But also the time controls being quite fast this makes it very distinct from the actual world majors.
Yes, that makes sense. All right, so that's quite a bit good background information, but still, it's an international tournament, so people do pay attention.
Oh yes, and most of the best players in the world are featured. So this featured, I think, I consider Japan's 3 strongest players.
Yeah.
participated this year. Of course, all of Korea's top players participated. Really, only Kerje is like a big sort of absence.
Yes. Now, okay, it's interesting you mentioned Kerje because I did listen to a podcast, one of the Chinese podcasts. They mentioned that China didn't want to send their top 1 or 2 player to this tournament just because it's not really an international major and the prize money isn't really big enough, so they just don't want to send their absolute top player. But of course, who they sent are still players in the top 10, so there's no slouches. But it's very interesting how Kerje has never played in this tournament. So
Yeah.
let's
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So now we've got Mi Yuting and Shin Jin So. They had a little bit of a history.
They've had a bit of a rivalry this year, year.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, they had the Nongshim Cup sort of incident.
Yeah.
And then Mi Yuting was the first, was the player to end Shin Jin So's streak against Chinese players.
Yeah. And basically, Mi Yuting ended Shin Jin So's streak of 24 wins versus Chinese players in the JA League. But what happened last year was that Mi Yuting also beat Shin Jin So in the JA League last year, and that was, the basically just before where Shin Jin So began his 24 game winning streak. So that means Shin Jin So hasn't won against Mi Yuting for 2 years in a row in the JA League. And is this going to be a revenge?
Did he not beat Mi Yuting in the playoffs?
Potentially he has, but I guess what I meant was the regular season. But I honestly don't remember whether they played in the playoffs or not.
No, I don't remember.
No. Okay, so what's happened was that Mi Yuting played Shin Jin So, and it didn't work out so well for Mi Yuting. So Shin Jin So managed to progress. And then we have Yama Yuta versus Kim Ji Sok again. I think they played in some tournament before.
I believe it was either the Chunlan Cup or the LG Cup.
Yeah, I think it's one of the two. Might have been Chunlan Cup. Can't remember.
I just want to quickly state, Shin Jin So did actually play Mi Yuting in the playoffs of the JA League. So
right.
And obviously Shin Jin So won that because that was part of his streak.
Yes.
But in the regular season, yes, the last 2 regular seasons, Shin Jin So lost his matchup to Mi Yuting.
Yes.
But this was actually the first game to finish in the first round.
Yeah.
Shin Jin So versus Mi Yuting, and Mi Yuting just had a bad day. Shin Jin So was clinical.
Yeah. I mean, Mi Yuting's been in just atrocious form after beating Shin Jin So. Like his record in JA League is just crazily bad. I think he played in the main player spot, but his win rate was like 30%. I think last podcast I keep mentioning that I will talk about Mi Yuting's record in the JA League, but actually didn't end up talking about it. But yeah, he ended up with like a 33% a record, something like that, in the main player spot. And that's after he beat Shin Jin So. So he's been having a really, really horrendous form since beating Shin Jin So. So I guess that form continues here. But anyway, back to Yama Yuta and Kim Ji Sok.
Yeah. So they actually played in the Chunlan Cup in March. Obviously, Yama didn't even participate in the LG Cup because of a clash.
Right.
But yes, Kim Ji Sok beat Yama in the first round of the Chunlan Cup this year.
Yeah.
And so, they're playing again.
Yeah.
And this was a good game.
Yeah. If I'm not wrong, Yama Yuta had his chances, but just couldn't take them. So Kim Ji Sok.
No, I think Kim Ji Sok prevailed by half a point.
Right.
And I think this was the last game to finish in the first round.
Right. And now, and then you have your Zhao Chenyu just beating Kim Myung Hyun. It was just, it wasn't very, 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 very convincing at all.
No, it was definitely there was a lot of complications in Byoyomi. With these sorts of time controls, you can see some chaos in the Byoyomi, and in the end, Zhao Chenyu came out on top.
Yeah. And I do believe the podcast that I listened to, he described Zhao Chenyu's game as very solid. He doesn't usually play very unreasonable moves, but in this game, he did have to. Like, he was just trying every trick in the book to try and get a win, and it kind of worked. Now, basically, I really want to show you what actually happened, because it was actually really interesting what happened. So basically, according to AI, Zhao Chenyu was just losing really bad. So, and then he decided to make this kind of move. Like, this is Zhao Chenyu is black, Kim Min-hyun is white. So this is what black did, like way deep in white's territory. So, like, and then and it was successful. He managed to complicate things quite a bit. Like, like, there's just 5 black stone here that's got not even connected. It's just throwing stones around. Like, it's just so desperate. And then somehow he managed to cut white here, push, connect, and come out. That's just amazing. That all started with just that one stone down there, and then bang, 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 bang. He's kind of like, destroy all of this territory and come out successfully, and that's how Zhao Chenyu reversed the game. But before then, he was, according to AI, like, if imagine if white had made all of this territory, like, I don't think black has it.
Oh no, yeah. If black failed there, then there was nothing he could have done.
Yeah, but it's quite interesting how Zhao Chenyu managed to create something out of nothing. So,
yeah, quite literally.
Yeah. Too bad for Kim Min-hyun.
That's good. That's good, confident play by Zhao Chenyu.
Yeah, 100%. Alright. And next game is Ichiriki versus Park Jun-hwan.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think Ichiriki had too many chances in that one. If I'm
not wrong. He didn't play well and he lost.
Yeah, and then you got your youngster from Taiwan, Lai Junfu, versus the veteran Wen Songjin, no Zagar.
Now, Wen Songjin already lost to a Taiwanese player earlier this
Wang
year.
Yuanjun, yep.
In, what was it, the LG Cup?
LG Cup, I think, yeah.
And so this time he didn't play Wang Wanjun.
Yeah.
He played another Taiwanese, Lai Junfu, and Wen Songjin's back to form, I think. Good win here.
Yeah. So, and then we got Wang Yuanjun versus Kang Dong-yun. So Kang, which is too good for the Taiwanese, I just progressed.
Yeah.
Now, you may have noticed that it's a little bit of a trend emerging. Okay, so almost up to here, almost all the games are won by Koreans. Almost everyone, except the Zhao Chenyu game, which came really close to, going to a Korean player. So, okay, next one is Xu Chaoyuan versus Shin Min-jun. Shin Min-jun got the upper hand as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Xu Chaoyuan, but this was not a good game by him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He didn't really have it, and I was a bit surprised at just how easily Shin Min-jun beat him. I tend to see Shin Min-jun as more of an expert at the longer time controls.
Yeah.
Based on his performances in the Korea's Strongest and the LG Cup.
Yeah.
And I don't usually see him in fast time control finals like the Yongseong or the Maxim Cup.
Yeah.
In Korea. So thought Xu Chaoyuan would give a good fight here, but didn't go. Yeah, he didn't have a good game at all.
No. So basically, by this point, all the Japanese players are out, all 3 of them.
Yep. Same with the Taiwanese players. All the Taiwanese players are gone, and all the Japanese players are out, and really only Ayama put up much of a fight.
Yeah. So the last game in the first round, Ding Hao versus Byung Sang-il. Was looking forward to this one, but Ding Hao just couldn't overcome Byung. So Bjorn progressed. So this is a very, very remarkable first round because the Koreans won 7 out of 8 games. So the quarterfinals were just 7 Korean players and 1 Chinese player, Zhao Chenyu.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
pretty incredible.
Incredible.
And there's an insane piece of trivia that I have, but I want to go through the quarterfinal games.
Yeah.
First, I do want to point out that the quarterfinal games actually happened on the same day.
Yes.
As the round of 16. So the round of 16 games were played in the morning. I'll see if I can find the actual time that were played. No, I don't know the exact. I don't recall the exact time, but I believe the quarterfinal games were maybe played 4 hours after the round of 16 games started.
Right. Yeah.
So there was maybe a 4-hour break from the start of the round of 16 to the start of the quarterfinals.
Right.
Something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, either way, both rounds, first 2 rounds were played the same day.
That's right.
Yeah, and then you got your Shin Jin-so versus Kim Ji-sok. So Shin Jin-so won that one. Zhao Chenyu versus Park Jun-hwan. Yeah, so this one was an interesting one because it looked like Zhao Chenyu was gonna win, but then in the Bayomi, he just played wrong, and he's lost to Park Jun-hwan. So all non-Korean players are out at this point. So it's basically just all Koreans now. So Won Son-jin versus Kang Dong-yoon, surprisingly, to me anyway, Won managed to come out on top. And then Shin Min-ju versus Byung Sang-yu. Byung Sang-yu came out on top. So the semi-final is Shin Jin-so, Park Jun-hwan, Won Son-jin, and Byung Sang-yu. So the top 3 in Korea, plus a former top 10. So very, very interesting there. Yeah.
All, I just want to point out. So there. Obviously, the rest of the games will feature Korean players.
Yeah.
Every game in this tournament featured a Korean player.
Right.
And there were 9 games that were a Korean versus a non-Korean.
Right.
And in those 9 games, Korea went 2-0 against Taiwan, 3-0 against Japan, and 3-1 against China.
Right.
Mok Jin-sok, the captain of Korea, he must be grinning like a Cheshire cat at this performance. This is a clinic. This is an absolute clinic. I know that half of the field is Korean, but this is impressive.
Yeah.
This is very impressive.
Yeah.
Full credit to the Korean players. They clearly have done their preparation for this event. And that's not my insane piece of trivia, though. This is my insane piece of trivia. How many quarterfinalists were there? 7, right?
Yeah.
7 from Korea, that is.
Yeah.
7 of the 8 quarterfinalists from Korea, and all 4 semi-finalists are from Korea.
Right.
That's not the first time that's happened.
Right.
It's actually happened in a world major.
Right.
Do you know which world major?
I honestly can't remember. No.
It was the LG Cup.
Yeah.
In 2002.
Yeah.
So 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There were 7 Korean. Let me check if I've got this right. I think I've got this right.
Yeah.
Yes. The 7th LG Cup, there were 7 Korean quarterfinalists and 4 Korean semi-finalists.
Right.
And you know what?
What?
That was 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Won Song-jin was a semi-finalist in both tournaments.
Oh, wow.
So Won Song-jin is a semi-finalist here, right?
Yeah.
20 years ago, he was one of the 4 Korean semi-finalists in the LG Cup.
Yeah.
20 years.
That's crazy.
And he's still making semi-finals of international tournaments. What a career, huh?
Hey, yeah, what a legend.
There's not many players that have made semi-finals of international tournaments 20 years apart. I mean,
Yeah.
Cho Hun-hyun probably could have done it if they had international tournaments in the 70s.
Yeah.
Like you're thinking of players like maybe Lee Chang-ho.
Yeah.
It's a very short list.
Or maybe go through the 2002 quarterfinalists. Who are they?
Okay, so I'll go through the quarterfinalists. Okay,
Yeah.
so Yu Chang-hyuk.
Yeah, Yu Chang-hyuk.
So Yu Chang-hyuk, he just recently won the seniors
Yes.
Baduk Championship.
That's right. Yeah.
He played Lee Chang-ho. Lee Se-dol played Park Young-hoon. Now, Park Young-hoon is actually still a good player, whereas Lee Se-dol is retired. The third quarterfinal was Won Song-jin versus Zhou Heyang. Now, Zhou Heyang is Chinese, so he was the only non-Korean quarterfinalist.
Yeah.
And the final quarterfinal was Cho Hun-hyun versus Cho Han-seung.
Yeah.
And Cho Han-seung recently made the LG Cup.
Yeah.
He made this year's LG Cup.
Yeah.
Whereas Cho Hun-hyun is basically, like, he's about 70 years old. He's sort of semi-retired, but like he was like 50 years old back then as well.
Yeah.
And Cho Hun-hyun, if the LG Cup happened 20 years, like 40 years ago, he probably would have made the quarterfinals of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a crazy field. Like Lee Chang-ho, Cho Han-hyun, Yu Chang-hyuk,
Lee Se-dol,
and Won Song-jin, and he's still doing it.
Yeah,
20 years later. So there you go. So that's an amazing piece of trivia. Can always rely on Gaza to dig up these kind of things. So that's a remarkable achievement again for the Korean Baduk players. So I can't remember the last time a tournament was dominated by the final was dominated by the Korean players. But congratulations. So that's round 1 and 2. Let's look at some picks. This is Byun Sang-yu concentrating really hard. I noticed that his handkerchief is basically the same pattern as his shirt.
He always has a handkerchief. Maybe it's his lucky handkerchief. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Cool. It's Park Jun-hwan, Shin Jin-so. It's Zhao Shun-yu.
Yeah.
Another angle. There's Won Song-jin over there drinking his coffee. That's Kim Ji-sok without glasses. It's Kang Dong-yun with glasses. Shin Min-jun. Yeah, okay, that's about it. All right, so now on to the semi-final.
So this was played the next day. So this was played on the Sunday.
And I believe it's done in such a way that the game 1 and 2 are played in the morning and afternoon.
Yeah, so the morning game was Shin Jin-so versus Park Jun-hwan, and the afternoon game was Won Song-jin versus Byun Sang-il.
Yep. So blockbuster in the morning, Shin Jin-so versus Park Jun-hwan. So Shin Jin-so managed to come out on top. And Won Song-jin versus Byung Sang-il, and Byung Sang-il managed to win that game. So we're looking at a Shin Jin-so, Byung Sang-il rematch.
Rematch because last year's Kuksu Mountains International, Shin Jin-so and Byun Sang-il played in the final of that.
And that was one of the rare instances where Byun Sang-il's won against Shin Jin-so in the final, and Byun Sang-il actually won the last tournament.
Actually, so that they did show a graphic during another game, which we'll discuss later in this podcast, of their finals record.
Right.
So Shin Jin-so, in 2017 they first played in a final, and that was in the Globus Cup, which is the under-20 international.
Yeah.
And Shin Jin-so won that. And then I don't think they played again in a final until last year, where they played 3 finals.
Yeah.
So they played the GS Caltex Cup, which Shin Jin-so won 3-2. They played the Myeongin, the first year it came back. Shin Jin-so won that 2-1. And then the Kuksu Mountains International, which Byun Sang-il won. So the Kuksu Mountains International last year was actually the first time Byun Sang-il won a final against Shin Jin-so. Although he has won games in finals against Shin Jin-so in the past, but just not the final itself.
Right. Yeah. And if I'm not wrong, like Shin Jin-so and Byun Sang-il, their record is like something like 24-7 or something.
It's something like that in favor of Shin Jin-so.
Yeah, so it's not really close, but Byun Sang-il did manage to come out on top last year in the same tournament. But it was, so therefore it was a final that people were looking forward to. And now on to let's go on to the final, unless there were some picks, which there were. So Shin Jin-so, Park Jun-hwan, Byun Sang-il again, Won Sung-jin.
Yeah, something to note, as you can see here, this is post-game, Shin Jin-so and Park Jun-hwan. They're still playing remote, like they're still playing on computer screens.
Right.
They actually play in the same room. They're just a couple of meters away from each other with, they set it up so that they can't see each other's screens, of course.
Yeah.
They're basically facing each other. But, yeah, they're playing on screens. And we have mentioned in the past, there have been the case of it is quite weird, but I think they just want all the games to be consistent. Like, obviously, when they play non-Koreans, they have to play on screens because the foreign players can't travel over.
Yeah.
So I guess they just do it so that all of the games are the same format.
Yeah.
But yeah, there has been in the past some shenanigans where some players, they're playing in the same room and then the software doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so they actually have to postpone the game even though they're literally in the same room.
Yeah.
Quite funny, but that didn't happen here. But yeah, they're playing on separate screens.
Yeah.
In the same room.
Yeah. So hopefully when COVID's over, we can see them playing in the same location again. But yeah, it's lots of cameras down here. A well lit room, very good. All right, and now to the big one. Shin Jin-so and Byun Sang-il in the final. This is them facing each other.
Yep.
In the room. Yeah. Actually, Byun Sang-il is wearing the same shirt still. Interesting.
He must have. I'm sure he washed it.
Yeah. Wow. And dried it.
What I want to know what your opinion of the game was, the final. This was a one-game final. What did you think of the game?
I thought it was a good game. I mean, it got complicated. I mean, AI says that Byun Sang-il at the end made the wrong kind of choice, and he just finished the code and his group ended up dying, which was, But apart from that, it was a good game.
I particularly thought it was a great game.
Right.
I thought it was game of the week for me.
Yeah. It was a great game.
I thought the AI for the first for a 30-minute game, the first sort of 115 moves or so were extremely accurate according to AI.
Yeah.
Like there really were hardly any sort of weak moves or anything like that. And then when they both got into Byoyomi, it became very chaotic.
Yeah.
with lots of running stones and some fighting and and as you said, it ended up being a ko that Byun Sang-il. It turned out Byun Sang-il decided to take the ko instead of responding to a ko threat, and that turned out to be the fatal mistake.
Yeah, and like it just show you a couple of moments in the game. So in this game, Byun Sang-il is black and Shin Jin-so is white. So like Byun played this unusual attachment. Maybe like AI would recommend these kind of things now, but it does look a bit unusual. So it ends up playing like this, and then it does another attachment. But all of these things apparently AI says were fine. So either it's been researched by AI or something with AI, or it definitely looks very different. These kind of attachments. But anyway, this is the first moment of the game that I thought was quite remarkable, and they just keep fighting, and I think at some point the AI says Byeongsang is leading, but the game is very very complicated.
Yeah, I think perhaps Shin Jin-so, the stones on the left, I think when they were lost.
Yeah, these three.
The white stones. Yeah. No, on the left.
Oh, the left. Yeah, these ones.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah, I think when Byeongsang cut those off, he got a bit of an advantage, but I'm not. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean it's. But anyway, if you look at the position, it's very very complicated. So, but anyway, I think at this point, I think AI says it's better for Byeon, but apparently this starting a co here was not the right choice, and also because Shin Jin-so is behind. So if you're behind, you want more complicated stuff to happen. So you would want to see a co or something. So they're just fighting this co instantly, and then Shin Jin-so made this move, which is a co threat, and for some reason, Byeon Sang-il, maybe it was just time pressure or whatever, he maybe didn't think through this and thought this wasn't enough of a threat. Notice that these three stones are captured, right, at this point.
Yes,
so,
yes, they're dead. They're dead stones, but there's RG.
There's some RG, but anyway, but then you see this black group, it's not alive, but so for some reason, Byeon thought that this wasn't going to be good enough as a co test, so he finished off the co, which was the fatal mistake. So attach. I don't know what his misreading was, but yeah, Shin Jin-so managed to activate these three dead stones, and then that's it. That's when the game ended. So it wasn't. So I think the game ended quite suddenly. It was just they were fighting this co, and then bang, it was just done.
Yeah, a very rapid ending after Byeongsang took the go. I think he just didn't have enough time to read it out. I think they had 40 seconds. They were both down to their last Byoyomi. They had 40 seconds.
Right.
And I think Byeon, perhaps he just thought, look, I don't see how white destroys me. Yeah. I'm just going to take the code, take my chances.
Yeah, it's like a gamble, right? Maybe
hopefully either Shin Jin-so hasn't seen anything either, or I can outread him.
Yeah,
I don't know. 40 seconds. Is not a lot of time.
Yeah, but then obviously 5 moves later, he realized that Shin Jin-so did see something, so it was gone.
But in my opinion, I was on the edge of my seat. I was watching this game live, and it was such an amazing.
Yeah.
It was such a high quality game. I thought this was a great, a great quality game for an international final.
Yeah, it's definitely deserving of an international final. But yep, so we went through some picks and drinking some wine.
Can we just go back to that picture?
Yeah.
So I just want to cover something here. So you can see Shin Jin-so second on the left, and Byeon Sang-il second on the right.
Yeah.
And in the middle is some sort of official, right?
Yeah.
Some sort of dignitary.
Yeah.
Now there are two other players there. Now I just want to quickly mention the Kuksu Mountains in tournament is actually 2 tournaments.
Right.
Similar to, say, the Chuzhou Lanke, which has a domestic and now an international version.
Yeah.
And the Senko Cup, which has a Japanese version and an international version. The Kuksu Mountains has a domestic tournament and an international tournament.
Yeah.
But unlike those other tournaments that I mentioned, this one, they run the 2 tournaments in parallel. So the domestic tournament, it's just for Koreans.
Right.
But it's specifically players that are not in the international tournament.
Right. Yeah.
And the 2 finalists are the 2 people in the white shirts in this picture. On the right, you may recognize. It's hard to see because his face is to the side, but that's Hong Song-ji.
Right.
A fairly well-known Korean player for those people that are. Big in the Korean scene. He's not a huge player, but he's won some titles in the past.
Yeah.
And on the left is Lee Won-young. I think we may have mentioned him in the past, either as one of Shin Jin-so's victims, or maybe he played in. I think he played in the Korean Baduk League this year.
Yeah.
But they were the 2 finalists, and Lee Won-young, he won.
Right.
And that's actually his first ever career title. And I think he's been a pro for maybe nine years now.
Yeah.
So he's won his first title. I think we may have actually discussed him because he recently got promoted to 9-dan.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, he's not only a 9-dan, he's now a title holder.
Very good.
Let me just quickly check. Yeah, he turned pro. He actually turned pro in 2009, so he's been pro for nearly 13 years now.
Right.
Yeah. No, he actually became 9-dan last year, so we wouldn't have mentioned that in the podcast because it was last year. But he's now won a title.
Yeah.
So big congrats to him.
Definitely, 100%.
And also congrats to Shin Jinso for getting revenge on Byun Sang-il and winning his first Kuksu Mountains international title.
Yeah, so well done, Shin Jinso. So that's this year's Kuksu Mountains Cup international, and let's move on to the Women's E-League, which happened in China over the last week or so.
Yeah, so we talked about a couple of rounds that happened in the last podcast, but now the Women's E-League has finished.
Yeah.
There are only 7 rounds.
Yeah.
And it's played over 8 days, I believe. I think there may be a rest day or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's a very short tournament, and it's over. So we may as well go over some of the more prominent sort of performances.
Yeah. Now, this may be just very poorly translated, but I do believe that Nakamura Sumire obviously played in the E-League, but apparently during the rest day, she played in Japan in this competition called the Discovery Cup. And the Discovery Cup is like a mixed competition. There's men and women players, and apparently it must be a really fast game.
Yes. I'll quickly look it up now.
Yeah.
Because I've heard of this tournament before.
Yeah.
I believe. So it's obviously an annual tournament like most of them. I believe it actually also features amateur players.
Right.
And I believe it's typically for younger players, but also it's restricted to players that are at most 2-dan professional.
Right.
So no one 3-dan or above plays in this. I'm just trying to load the Nihon Kiin page. So it's under the age of 18.
Right.
And you have to be either, if you're a pro, you can only be 1-dan or 2-dan pro.
Right. Yeah.
And I believe it is, so you get 30 seconds a move.
Yep.
With 10 1-minute Byoyomis. So
Right.
basically, if you want, you can spend an extra minute on top of the 30 seconds, but you can
Right.
only do that 10 times.
Right.
And yeah, I believe that they play, I think they play 3 games a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really, really fast tournament. So this is Sumire playing in the tournament, because the tournament only happened in one day. So this is her playing in the 2-dan. And she actually played 3 men pros, but obviously they were 2-dan or under. So either they never got, they have to be under 18 as well. So just new, basically new pros. And she actually won 3 games versus the men pros, and she actually won the tournament on the rest day of the E-League. So
Yeah.
that's quite crazy.
I just want to quickly clarify, this is not considered an official tournament.
Right.
In Japan. So it doesn't count on her on her career titles. So technically she still doesn't have a career title yet.
Right.
If you also so this, and I wouldn't consider this to be her first tournament win, because I believe last year in the Senko Cup, they also had sort of a Japanese Senko Cup,
right,
which just had 1 and 2-dan women players, and she won that.
Right.
But and I think this sort of tournament has the same sort of unofficial status.
Right.
It's still a huge accomplishment for her.
Yeah.
But I just want to put it in perspective.
Yep. Thanks for that. Yeah, so I think in the article it called it the hell-like schedule because she has to play the E-League, which only has one rest day, so 7 games over 8 days, and she play a bunch of games in Discovery Cup, and she might have to play more games after her E-League as well. So
yeah, and I think also in the Discovery Cup, so I believe there's a preliminary round.
yeah,
So essentially, what happens is there are 32 players,
yeah,
and they're split into 4 groups of 8.
mm,
And it's basically so each group of 8 is played like a quarterfinal, semi-final, and final.
yeah,
And I think the 2 finalists end up moving on to the final tournament. Everyone in the preliminaries plays 3 games though. So if you lose your first 2 games,
yeah,
your final game will be with someone else who also has 2 losses.
right,
But essentially, the 2 players from each group move on to the final. So it's an 8-person final, and the same thing happens there.
right,
So it's sort of a knockout thing. You still play all 3 games, but basically you have to win your 3 games to win the Discovery Cup. So she ended up winning 6 games.
oh wow,
And I believe that it's the final round is done the day after the preliminaries. So she played 6 games in 2 days, I think.
yeah. Okay, so that's great. So yeah, and so basically back to the E-League. So now Nakamura played out a very very remarkable game versus Choi Jong, who many would consider the best women player in the world. And she really did put up a great fight. I do want to show you the moment where basically Sumire lost. So this is Sumire versus Choi Jong. So Sumire is black, Choi Jong is white, and it was basically neck and neck, 50-50. Like through all of this fighting, all this fighting this Sumire was just like neck and neck, 50-50 with Choi Jong. All the way up till basically almost to the final moment. And now this is, I guess, where Choi Jong showed her class, and maybe Sumire was just maybe she's already tired or whatever it may be. But notice that this black group over here, technically it's not alive. But black did play this move here, so potentially can make one eye hand here, and but it's not connected back to the black the black group. So basically, I guess AI's suggestion at this point was for black to make one more move to connect back somehow, or at least create some eye shape so that you can live or do something with it. So Sumire, that's AI's suggestion for Sumire, but Sumire didn't do that. Sumire just jumped here, and I just want to show you how classy Choi Jong is in these kind of situations. So she noticed the problem immediately, and she played this beautiful move here, destroying the eyes and also threatening to cut. And just this one move, cut.
Wow.
Bang. Nope, Sumire is not staying alive. Gone. So see, the whole thing's got cut off. And just tiny little details like this, I think this shows that Choi Jong is just superior. It just notices these kind of details, and after that it would just nothing much Sumire can do. Just this whole thing's gone. Just because she failed to notice one little detail, like that she has a connection problem and that she doesn't have enough nice eye space, and that's exactly the thing that Choi Jong noticed and exploited. But up to that point, they were neck and neck. There was nothing separating.
She would have been a bit scared, I think, Choi Jong at times.
Yeah, but Choi Jong's class thrown through. It was just not Sumire's day. But it would have been a sensational story if Sumire did beat Choi Jong, but it wasn't to be. But Sumire did really well in the E-League. I believe she ended up with a 5-2 record, which is quite impressive.
They're very good. And I just want to make a very quick correction. So I said that she played in the Discovery Cup. It turns out that the preliminaries were actually played in March and April. Right. So she only played 3 games during this period of hell. Yeah, and that was the final tournament that she played in. And yeah, so she, like I said, the Yi League was played seven. The Women's Year League was rounds over 8 days, and basically in the day off,
Yeah.
Sumire played 3 games in the Discovery Cup final.
Right.
And she won all of them. So in 8 days, Sumire won 8 games and lost 2.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And so I think we may have sort of figured out. It also turns out that Choi Jong went 7-0.
Yeah.
In the Women's Year League, and it turns out I said that she started playing in the Women's Year League in 2016. It turns out I was wrong there. She actually started playing in 2015.
Right.
So she's played now 7 straight seasons in the Women's Year League, which is the second tier women's league in China, and she's won 48 games and lost 1.
Right.
And we're still a little bit uncertain as to exactly why Choi Jong is playing in the Women's Year League and not the Women's JAR League, but we think it may be to do with how much she gets paid to play.
Yeah. I mean, presumably, if she plays in the JAR League, she would be paid maybe even more per game. But now, like JAR League the Women's JAR League anyway is, I believe, used to be played in a home and away format. So it means that you have to actually travel all over China just to play in those games. And before COVID, those games were, I guess, over the board. So therefore, Choi Jong would have to do a lot more travel if she did play in the JAR League. But E League is always concentrated over like a 10-day period. So all 7 rounds are played over the span of 8 to 10 days. So, and she makes a decent sum, and I think the report was that she makes about 300,000 renminbi over one season of Yi League. That's about almost like 50,000 US dollars, I think, something like that.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, and that's like just over like a week or so, and she doesn't have to travel. She only has to travel to one place, play all the games, and done. And you can see that her record is just amazing. Only had one loss.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to point out, like we said, the Women's Year League is the second tier.
Yeah.
There are promotions and relegations in the
Yes.
women's leagues, just like the open leagues. So you may be thinking, Choi Jong is winning a ton of her games. She wins almost literally all of her games. How come her team never gets promoted?
Yeah.
Like, are her teammates that bad? And it turns out the answer is her team often does get promoted.
Yeah.
It's just that when her team gets promoted, but then some other team signs her up.
Yeah.
Some other Year League team signs her up once the team that she's on gets promoted.
Exactly.
It definitely seems to me like she just does not have the scheduling capacity to play in the women's JAR League. I mean, she probably could make time in her schedule, but I just don't think it's worth it. Like, it's not like Shin Jin-so in the Open JAR League, because the Open JAR League is really the best way to play the top players in the world, because most of the top players in the world are Chinese.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But in the women's scene, there's a lot of top women Korean players.
Yeah.
So Choi Jong already gets, quality opposition in Korea. Not that there's not top open Korean players. It's just that there's a lot more competition in China.
Yeah.
And of course, when it comes to the JAR League, the KBA will move all of their domestic games. They'll reschedule all of their domestic games to allow their top players to play the JAR League.
Yeah. 100%.
For the women's JAR League, it's not so much the case.
Yeah, 100%. I think the podcast I listened to, they also conjectured that because the women's JAR League was, maybe the quality of the opposition is a bit stronger than the Yi League, but it's also probably not in the same class as Choi Jong. So, I mean, she's not gonna get a lot of quality game times out of it anyway. So she might as well take the shorter time period and get a paycheck that way. Yeah. So I do believe 300,000 RMB would be similar to a lot of the open majors, open titles in Korea in terms of prize money.
No, that would be pretty close to some of the open majors. Like, the GS Caltex Cup is about 70 million won, so it wouldn't be something like that. But maybe the Myungin or the Yongseong, it would probably be the same amount as the Yongseong actually.
Yeah,
or even if not a little bit more.
Yeah, so it's basically easy money for Choi Jong. Basically.
Yeah, and you got to I'm not going to criticize her for taking the money.
100%. But Choi Jong again demonstrates that she deserves her paycheck in the E League because her team actually won the league, and obviously, as we mentioned, she won all her games. But Sumire, playing in Board 1 in E League, also led her team to the JA League, Women's JA League. Just amazing. So we might see Sumire playing the JA League.
That would be good. I think that she could.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd get blown out of the water in JA League. I think that would be a great experience for her.
Yeah.
And
you know what, Sumire got there in style as well, because she had to play a strong Korean player, Kim Da-young, in the last round, and she basically had to use Chinese rules to win by half a point. So basically she had this code, but she just never connected. She just kept taking dame, and then at the end she ended up being the person connecting the code. She actually just won by half a point that way. So she also demonstrates mastery of the Chinese rules.
Kim Da-young, by the way, is I'm not sure if we ever mentioned this, but she's Kim Chi-young's sister.
Oh, is that right? No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
she may have also beaten Oh Jong-ah. I'm not sure if she played Oh Jong-ah. That's Oh Jong-ah, by the way, in the blue shirt.
Yeah.
She may have played Oh Jong-ah. If she played Oh Jong-ah, she beat her as well.
Right.
And she beat the other Japanese player competing in the women's new league. Yeah, New Aiko.
Yeah. And now maybe worth mentioning is Li Xiaoxi here. I believe she either won all her games or she only lost one game. She might have lost her game to Choi Jong.
I believe she played Choi Jong. Yes.
Right. Yeah. I think she might have gone 6-1 or something. But her team unfortunately didn't make it. But yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. So that's so they do play over the board. This is
Kim Da-young.
Kim Da-young, yes. That's of course Sumire. So yeah, that's great results for Sumire and Choi Jong. And New Aiko, she also did quite well, I think.
I just want to quickly mention we're gonna talk about Sumire's. Like I said, Sumire played in the Discovery Cup. Now, the preliminaries were held in March and April.
Yeah.
Sumire's first opponent in that preliminary is actually quite a notable name, which we will discuss later in this podcast. That's just a bit of a hint for you, Zhao Dai, as well.
Right. I'm gonna be racking my brain over this. Let me think about this. But anyway, so that's a good conclusion to the E League. Worth mentioning, I believe, Team Taiwan, they finished around 8th out of 12, so kind of mid-table. So Team Taiwan is not strong enough to make the women's JA League yet.
I think Lu Yuhua on Board 1 didn't have a good Yi League.
No. I think she had ended up with a 5-2 record, 2 wins and 5 losses record, which is a bit surprising, but.
Yes, I expected her to do better. Yeah. And Yuli Jun, who I don't see it all that active.
Yeah.
Recently, she played for Team Taiwan. She did okay.
She did all right. I think the two other players play all right. I think maybe it does feel like that in E League they do kind of try to do it in such a way that the Board 1 is the strongest player, and Board 2 and 3 are the weaker players. So maybe they just do it like that, so that and they respect the rules, so they kind of just do it such a way that the strongest player play in Board 1. So Lu Yuhua did have to play the strongest players like Choi Jong and Sumire and all that stuff.
I can completely understand her losing to Choi Jong and losing to Sumire is not it's not the biggest shock, but I think she still could have done better.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of expected her to do better, given her good results. But that was Yi League. So now let's jump back to Korea and look at the GX Caltex Cup final.
Now this was highly anticipated. This is another episode of the Byunsangil Shinjinso rivalry.
Yeah.
Now this first game, this is a best of 5, by the way.
Yeah.
GS Caltex Cup. And the time format it's actually the same as Nongshim Cup. I've got this one, I know. Yeah, I'm right.
Yeah.
1 hour with 1 60-second Byoyomi, which I think, given Shinjinso's results in these time formats, I think this is his strongest format.
Right.
He's strong. I think he seems to be unbeatable at 1 hour games.
Right.
Just from my experience. But this is actually, so not only is this a rematch after the Kuksu Mountains Cup final.
Yeah.
For both players, they haven't played a scheduled game since the Kuksu Mountains Cup final. So they're playing each other straight away.
Yeah. But
this is also a rematch of last year's GS Caltex Cup final.
Yeah.
So once again, in that case, Shinjinso won 3-2.
Right. Yeah.
So Byunsangil did take it to him.
Yeah.
But Shinjinso ended up prevailing. So so much recent history between these two, and really looking forward to this game. So the Kuksu Mountains Cup final was on Monday.
Yeah.
This game 1 was played on Thursday, so they had 2 days off.
Yeah.
Before meeting again.
And I was super looking forward to this, but because of the rivalry, and this is like the second rematch they had, as you mentioned, because so I was really looking forward to this, and I must say I was a little bit disappointed with the content,
So can you discuss what happened with this game and where Byunsangil went wrong? Because Shinjinso won. We should mention that.
Yeah, Shinjinso won game 1. So in this game,
in this case, Shinjinso is black. Byunsangil is white.
Yeah.
What went wrong?
Now I think many people will agree with me. So if you look at here, black is these 3 stones and this 1 stone over here. So white is right to launch an attack, but also notice that white is actually not super strong himself. So, but it's Byunsangil's style to go for an attack, but the way in which he attack is really, really strange. Let's put it this way. So and he decides to do this cut. So Shinjinso pulls back, he connects, and he pulls back. So let's look at this. So the pulling back and making Shinjinso take, that's the whole idea here, is just to make this a false eye. So it feels like that Byunsangil is already launching an attack and trying to kill black. That this early in the game, it's like move 70, he's already trying to kill black. This doesn't feel like how a pro plays. Like this would be like this would be like maybe players at my level, they'd be like, oh, I'm gonna launch a crazy attack.
This is more. Just to interrupt you, this is more players at my level. This is the type of stuff that I do.
Yeah. I really didn't expect a pro to go for this kind of thing. It's way too early, and it's. I mean, after this point, I just didn't think Byunsangil was gonna succeed, and then he just started launching this crazy attack. It didn't go well, but takes away some black's eye space as well. Notice at this point something like black is close to having all 4 corners. Okay, so if black takes all 4 corners and live in the middle, there's not much left for white. So somehow just by playing these attacking moves, like white's got himself into a spot where, I mean, he's basically got no choice. But black,
I should say, some of the corners are a little small.
Yeah,
but also the fact that he has a significant region on the left as well.
Yeah. So like basically just.
And he managed to. So Shinjinso ended up filling in the Ko on the left as well. So now he's definitely got all that territory on the left.
and the whole side as well, and you know, black, you can see white's got 3 stones here, just completely wasted. So and Xin Jinso is still ignoring white, still leaving this group here, because okay, Xin Jinso's got 1 eye, so if Xin Jinso jumps here, that's another eye. So and maybe Xin Jinso thinks that he can make something in the middle, so it's Xin Jinso thinks his group is pretty safe. So you know, Byeonsang decides to take away the eye, at least 1 eye over here. So Xin Jinso decides to, you know, do his thing in the middle, and before he tries to live in the middle, he just plays this painful thing. Says, "Well, I'm gonna connect under if you don't connect." So Byeonsang has no choice but to connect. So that's basically 3 points for Xin Jinso. And then you saw Atari connect, bang, bang, and it ignores it, connects. That's it. His group lived. Nothing Beyond can do. It's just, I think if you look at the territory wise, Beyond's got this, and Xin Jinso's got all 4 corners. It wasn't gonna be Beyond's day. So it was very, very disappointing performance. Finished quite early, but it all happened, you know, when Byeonsang decided to do this crazy stuff where he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna make a full side right here," but yeah, it was never gonna work. So very, very disappointing.
Just to be clear, this game was over in under 2 hours. Neither player got to Byeonyomi.
Yeah, that's just crazy. I don't know what Beyond is thinking. Maybe like it seems like he's just gone off the rails. Like,
can we look at a comment here? Someone actually posted a comment here.
Yeah.
It says here, maybe he's tilting from his loss a few days ago. He's referring to the Kuksu Mountains International, and you know that could be the case. Byeon sometimes seems to be a bit impulsive. The comment mentions that as well. We've gone over a few Byeonsang games. Like one game that I think of is his game against Kim Yong-hun, I think in the Chunlan Cup.
Yeah.
Where he had that crazy sort of peep.
Yeah.
Do you remember that game? I might try and link it in the podcast if I can find it.
Yeah.
When we post this on YouTube, but
his group was dead in the beginning.
Yeah, he can play some very, very chaotic sort of moves.
Yeah.
And he may have just he maybe was looking for revenge or looking to exact sort of retribution for his loss in the Kuksu Mountains final, but it's not so easy against Xin Jinso.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like he was trying too hard, like to do something quickly to defeat Xin Jinso, but you know, you gotta take these kind of things more patiently. I mean, especially at the top level. I mean, like Xin Jinso's not gonna let his group die just like that, just because you made a full side.
Xin Jinso seems to be. I mean, Xin Jinso's good at a lot of things, but his Sabaki is really, really good. He just seems to play with such confidence. Like, no, he just knows when his group's alive, like how to keep his stones alive.
So it's done really, really well. So after the first game, I wasn't having great hopes for the second game.
Now the first game we said was on Thursday. The second game was the very next day.
Yeah, it's the very next day. So
and I thought, you know, you went over that game, and it's obviously as soon as Xin Jinso lived, Byeon resigned.
Yeah.
But I was thinking maybe I guess it was clear that there wasn't anything left to play for. But I felt that maybe because this game ended so quickly, that gave Byeon a bit more time to rest.
Right.
You know, to sort of recuperate, sort of take this loss and, you know, just prepare. Got a little bit more time to prepare for game 2.
Yeah.
And game 2, the same thing happened.
Yeah. Like,
it just didn't get any better for Byeonsang.
Yeah. Like, it was very, very crazy. So I think up to this. So this is game 2. The Byeon is black in this game. Xin Jinso is white in this game. So up to this point, so far so good. So again, Xin Jinso has got this group over here. So Beyond just peep. So yeah, connect. But this group is got lots of liberties, can jump out. So I wouldn't. I mean, this group obviously has no eyes yet. But I wouldn't consider like one of the like maybe I wouldn't think about killing it at this stage. Like just maybe let's play some more moves and see how the game develops. But obviously, Sinjin So made his really deep invasion here. It's actually very interesting. Obviously, he can go into the corner and also go to the side, whatever. So anyway, Beyond just play this. This is still pretty normal. So Sinjin So decides to try and live in the corner and here destroy some territory. So that's fine. So Beyond decides to go here. Obviously, trying to seal off some territory here, but also put more pressure on White. But
yeah, double meaning.
Yeah. But obviously, at this point, even if I'm playing with someone of similar strength, I wouldn't be thinking about killing this White group yet. I would be just doing these kind of things that put more pressure on it to see how the game develops. All right, so Sinjin So goes, nah, I'm gonna just try to set out a base and take some of your potential here. And Beyond just decides to do this. Okay, this is already very threatening because that takes away eye space and also threatens this White group. So White jumps out. That's pretty normal. Okay, put more pressure on White. Bang. And then he decides to do this thing to cut White off, like right here. Obviously, there's nothing else he could mean just by cutting White off. So this is very, again, unless you can read like very, very far, this does feel like a high risk strategy.
I think it's a very high risk strategy, but I don't think it was anything. Yeah, it's high risk, but I don't think it's like it's not wrong. Like it's not completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean it might be doing. I mean you could just being this high risk, you might be just threatening it and then maybe just build something. Right, it's possible, but it does look like he's invested some stone, creating some cutting points himself.
Oh yeah, he's got quite a few cutting points at the bottom left of that attack there.
So let's see how this attack eventuates. So more cutting points. So Sinjin So decides to cut first. Connects, cut, Tari. So Sinjin So almost about to live. So playing here would live, right? Creating 2 eyes. And so Beyond cuts. Sinjin So decides not to live and just exploit the weakness. So this black group, just a beautiful Tetsuji over here. Atari, bang, comes out. Still not spending a move to live. And I think...
Yes, but now I think it's Mei because he can move... he can make a bamboo joint.
Bamboo joint. Oh, yeah, bamboo joint. And then that would be 1 eye
and
also 1 eye. So basically this White group is pretty much alive. But of course, if Black plays here, then White has to think about whether he can connect or not.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah. But anyway, so Beyond saying to play this one, which you would think is I think Beyond thought this was Sente, but this move was heavily disliked by AI. So obviously it looks like Sente because you can cut and kill these 2 stones, but Sinjin So play real smart here. Just bang. He decides he noticed that, hey, buddy, your black group here is also not fully alive. Look, right? So he just decides to take advantage of this first. Bang. So Beyond has to spend some moves to live, and then Sinjin will come back to connect. So
I mean, that's pretty impressive reading to see that all of those moves at the top were Sente.
Yeah. So and then he comes back to protect. Now, something strange has happened after Sinjin So made those exchanges. This black group is also not alive. And this black group is now also getting cut off. So it's not clear at this point who's killing who. Right, and this just it all came from Beyond's this decision to cut him off and just go for this high risk strategy. Like, unless you can actually read this far to this point, it's just too high risk for humans to play. But anyway, bang, and Sinjin So decided, well, I'm gonna cut you off as well, and let's just see how this game develops because it's not okay. So Beyond wants to save 1 group. Sinjin So still doesn't want to spend any move to live because he decides that this group is also too weak.
As long as he still has Sente, that's fine. Yeah.
And he's play here, bang, bang, bang. Oh my god, this black group is about to die. And that's where Beyond resigned.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
It's crazy stuff. And technically, if you look at this one, of course, Beyond Sinjin So can live at any time, but technically it's still not alive. I mean, like Black can kind of threaten to cut off or whatever. But
yeah. Blacken threatened to cut off those 5 stones at the top. Shinjin So's group can live.
Yeah.
That's fine, but
but Beyond's group is in total trouble. It's complete. And remember, this is where Beyond actually decided to spend some moves to cut Shinjin So off, which is our strategy just didn't.
Yeah, he was, and like those stones, the stones weren't played primarily to cut that group off. It was played. All of those stones were done to annoy other groups.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's managed to give all those white stones, two meanings, two purposes. Yeah. And it's just so crazy. And just to point out, this game also finished in under 2 hours. Neither player got to Byoyomi, second game in a row.
Yeah. So there's just some crazy stuff from Beyond Sangyo. I don't know what's maybe he's not maybe just in bad form, or maybe his state of mind is just not.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the recent title matches between Iyama and Ichiriki.
Right, yeah.
In terms of but probably even more dominant, because in the Japanese games, Ichiriki tends to have some chances.
Yeah.
But here, Byung-Seng is just getting blown away, and it's not because he's not intimidated by Shinjin So. Because they've played each other so many times.
Yeah.
And Byung-Seng has been a pro longer than Shinjin So.
Yeah.
And he's just clearly making some bad judgments.
Yeah. Now, you know what this reminds me of? Like sometimes if I play Go for too long, like I've been doing lots of correspondence games, sometimes you get to a point where you kind of feel like I'm not feeling, I don't want to do any reading, I just want to just play this move. That's what it feels like. Maybe Beyond is going through one of those phases where he's like, oh yeah, I'll just try this or whatever. I'm not gonna read it out. I'm just too tired, whatever it may be. But yeah, it's not been two great games for Beyond, and I'm really not expecting to see game 4 or 5. So.
Wow. So there haven't been any more games.
No.
There's only been 2 games. It's a best of 5. Shinjin So is leading 2-0.
Yeah.
So for Byung-Seng to win this title, he needs to win games 3, 4, and 5. But if Shinjin So, just like in all of the other title matches, if Shinjin So wins game 3, they're not going to bother with games 4 and 5. They'll just finish it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Shinjin So play well, but I just think that it's more a case of Byung-Seng playing poorly.
Byung-Seng definitely gave Shinjin So the opportunity to play well.
Yeah.
I would say that. I think Shinjin So played like the moves in this game too. I think Shinjin So executed his plan very well, but yes, Byung-Seng helped out.
Yeah. Oh wow. So that's
definitely not going to criticize Shinjin So here. He's played fantastic.
Yeah. So that's game 1 and 2 of GX Caltex Cup for you. So I am somewhat looking forward to game 3.
Just to be clear, game 3 I believe is on Monday. I'm just quickly checking.
Yeah.
Game 3 is on Monday, the 22nd.
Yeah.
So maybe by the time you see this podcast, game 3 will be happening soon, or it will have already happened.
Yeah. Right. So let's cover the last main topic of the day, which is the Chuzhou Lanke Cup, the first Chuzhou Lanke Cup, the international version, and the preliminary that's happening in China right now. So about, I think 3 rounds have been played in the prelim. I think more than 200 players have participated, and there's some really interesting things that have happened, including today. Today was a blockbuster day. So
I have a lot of questions regarding this, but you talk about what you want to talk about.
Yeah. Sure.
These results, yeah.
Yeah, maybe let's see if this video even loads. So now this is, of course, I mentioned it's like a 200 something people tournament. I do believe that there's no game fee. The video is not showing. There's no game fee, so you have to you have to make it to the tournament proper before you get paid to play. So, and a lot of these pros are kind of scattered all over China. So some of them maybe decided not to come. So not all pros from China are in this tournament. But I do believe some pros do live near where this tournament is taking place, which is Chuzhou. So they do decide to come. So there's some really, really interesting things that maybe... so actually, there's a total of 5 rounds. So it's played over 5 days. So maybe we'll see what's happened or maybe we'll look at some picks. So this is, let's see, lots of players here. I think there's a lot of a showdown in this tournament. That's why I noticed. By the way, the 200 also players are split into 10 groups. I do believe there are seeds in the group. So if you're ranked quite highly in the Chinese ranking system, you do get seeded into the next round. And so you may only have to play 4 rounds. And you're seeded in such a way that you're only likely to meet the strongest, the other seeds in the final rounds. So it's just like a normal tennis tournament kind of thing. Now, what's interesting in round 1 is that Yin Zhicheng, who we might have featured in one of the posts on the Pro WG, when he made pro, he was 10, but now he's 11. And I do believe this is his first official pro game, and he actually won against a top women pro, Wang Yubo. So that's quite remarkable, and it was because Wang Yubo made a horrible mistake in the end game. So. And he just let her whole group die. So that's how Yin Zhicheng managed to secure his first win. Let's see if we can find a picture of him. No, that's not it. Nope. Cannot find a picture of him. Maybe it's in the next post. So let's close this one. Let's look over some more pics. Oh, there we go. That's him. That's 11-year-old. That's Wang Yubo. He managed to win a game very luckily. So he meets another women player, I believe Pan Yang, in the next round. Yeah, and I do believe it might have been first round or the second round. It's probably the second round where we have there's 18 games where there was a women pro versus a men pro, and the men pro won 15 out of 18 of them. So almost all the women players were knocked out in the second round. Now, the second round also had contained 2 huge upsets. Tao Jiaxi and Mi Yuting are both out. They got knocked out.
Mi Yuting.
Yeah, Mi Yuting just had horrible form. Tao Jiaxi was more of a surprise because Tao Jiaxi was in great form recently. So 2 international title holders already eliminated in round 2. And Tan Xiao notably beat Yu Zhiying. And it was a reversal as well.
Yu Zhiying being China's number 1
women player. And then Pan Yang, which we talked about, she managed to beat Yi Zhicheng. So the 11-year-olds Jenny and
just like Ying Chengzi, his first round opponent Wang Yubo made a big mistake in the end game. Actually, in this game, Ying Chengzi himself made a big mistake in the end game.
Yeah.
He was winning and ended up making a big mistake and lost.
I do remember reading the report, and the mistake was something like he thought his group, and I think that because there was a reporter there, like watching all these games, the reporter was like, Yin Zhicheng didn't even think about the move. He just thought when Pan Yang played a move to steal in his group, he thought, oh, my group inside would be dead. I should not try to escape with my group. So he apparently Atari on the outside and just sacrificed the group.
Yeah.
But apparently that was the wrong decision. If he had read more deeply, he could actually realize that his group could actually have come out. So it was a bit a missed opportunity for Yin, but he's only 11, so let's see. Maybe he'll mature up and not make those kind of mistakes again. But Pan Yang is very notable. Of course, she plays in the Women's JAR League, but she's already done one remarkable thing. So okay, so look at some picks. So Lian Xiao over here, he's one of the favorites to make it past out of the group. Dang Yifei is also one of the favorites to make it out of his group. Li Qingcheng over here, can't see the names. It's Huang Yunsong. That's Zheng Zaixiang. So he's a new, very young player. He plays for Chengdu as a sub mostly to Dang Yifei and others, but we'll see his performance in this tournament. That's Fan Tingyu over here, thin as a stick. And is
that Tang Weixing in the background?
Yeah, that's Tang Weixing. Yeah, he's in his like sports shorts or something.
Yeah. And who's that playing Fan Tingyu?
That's Zhang Dongyue. So he used to be a popular presenter for WeiQi.TV.com, but WeiQi.TV.com didn't survive, so yeah, he's no longer doing his presentation. But apparently in this game, it was one of the first games to finish. He just didn't. He just lost really, really quickly. So that's unfortunately as well. Wang Xinghao.
Is that Wang Xinghao?
That's Wang Xinghao, one of the promising rising stars. He wasn't ranked in the top 30, 31 or 32.
Yeah, that's blasphemy.
Yeah. So therefore he didn't get many chances to play in tournaments until this open tournament.
Like this is his big chance to finally make a world chance.
Big chance. So of course he's a JAR League guy. He plays in JAR League for Shanghai.
Yep.
And his opponent in this game was Chai Jing, who we might have talked about in the Yi League just recently. So Chai Jing only plays in the Yi League, but it wasn't Wang Xinghao's day. He lost to Chai. And apparently No. Well, it happened, sorry. No, so Chai now apparently what's happened was Wang Xinghao was maybe leading by half a point, but apparently when he counted, he miscounted. So he thought he was 1 point short. So he thought he was behind by half a point. Right, just pure total miscount. And because of that, Wang decides to fight this code in a hopeless way and start another code. And he ended up losing one of the big codes and all his territory were gone. Now, this is according to the report, so I haven't seen the Kifu. So another huge missed opportunity for Wang. Of course, Wang is highly, highly regarded. And he's still only 18, but it wasn't to be. He's not going to make this tournament.
The Chinese, that's such a shame.
Yeah, but this is not the only huge upset in this tournament. Let's put it this way. Just going over some more picks. So, this is Yang Kai-wan, which is a JAR League, a regular. I think he did quite well. This is Li Xiaoxi, which we have talked about. Played in the Women's E League, and apparently, in this game, even at the Yosei stage, Li Xiaoxi still had chances to win. But so Yang Kai-wan said after the game that he was just lucky to have won this game. So unfortunately for Li, it wasn't to be. Even though she played really, really well to push like a JAR League to the limit in this game. Apparently Xu played Chu Ke. Apparently Xu just showed his qualities as Dragon Brother. That's his nickname because he chases a dragon. His nickname is one dragon per game. So so either he kills a dragon or he gets chased around. But apparently he managed to put quite a bit of pressure on her dragon and just managed to kill it, if I'm not wrong. All right, so that's some round pick. But round 2 is over. So today was round 3. Right, this is hot off the press. And there was some massive upsets in round 3.
Oh yeah.
Fan Tingyu, Shaker, Dang Yifei are all out of the tournament.
Wow,
that's just crazy. So of course, Fan and Xie are both top 10s in China. Deng, I think it's maybe just outside the top 10.
Isn't Fanting Yu like second?
Yeah, Fanting Yu is literally second in the rankings, but he wasn't one of the China's seeds. So Fan is out.
And Shirke is basically he's been playing half of Hangzhou's main board games in Jar League. And Hangzhou have Shinjinso. So that's how highly regarded Shirke is. He's playing on main board instead of Shinjinso.
But he got knocked out. So the people to knock them out were in order: He Yuhang, Zheng Zaixiang. So I might have gotten this. Wrong. So Zheng Zaixiang actually played Deng Yifei. So Zhou Ziyi is the one who beat Xie Ke. And what's remarkable is Zhou is only a 1 dan. So he just made pro probably. And he's already beating a top 9 dan, one of the main board for Hangzhou. So crazy good performance. Zheng Zaixiang, who plays as a sub for Chengdu, beat one of the regulars.
Deng Yifei made a big mistake there.
I haven't looked at Kifu yet, so but you it just shows that in China it's so competitive. Like even players who doesn't really get much game time, they could on their day could beat international title holders. They're just that strong. It's crazy. So other notable players to get knocked out are Huang Yunsong and Chen Xian. So Chen Xian went 7-1 in the Jar League this year.
7-1. 7-1.
And he's already knocked out. Pan Yang, which we talked about, she's the only women player remaining. I believe she beat another Jar Leaguer, Rong Yi. So she's done pretty well. So she's made it into round 4. She's only 2 games of making the main tournament. And unfortunately, she's the only women player left.
Can I now ask my questions?
Yes.
How many players get selected from these qualifiers?
10, because there's 10 groups and the group winner gets through.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. Now, I'm looking at an article here. Apparently, there will be 14 players from China.
Yes.
So that means there are 4 seeds.
Yes.
Now, I believe one of those seeds is the winner of the Chuzhou Lanka domestic tournament.
Correct.
And that would be Li Junhao.
Yes.
So that's why Li Junhao is not playing in these qualifiers, because he's already qualified.
Yes.
Another notable player who's not playing in the qualifiers is Ke Jie. So I'm assuming that Ke Jie has a seed.
Well, that's a no.
What I don't understand is who are the... I know in Korea, they announce the seeds before the qualifiers start.
Yeah.
So that the seeds don't play in the qualifiers. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
In China, have they announced the seeds? Are there 4 notable players or 3 players, not including Li Junhao, who are not playing in these qualifiers?
Well, it's 3 players. I really don't remember.
Is Yang Dingjing playing in these qualifiers?
No.
Right. So I'm thinking that Ke Jie and Yang Dingjing are both seeds.
Well, no. So I do believe now. I can't remember who it was. I might have mentioned it. The seeds might be like Yang Dingxin, Gu Zihao, Li Xuanhao, and somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but no Ke Jie. Ke Jie isn't one of the 4 seeds. All right, and Ke Jie isn't playing the qualifiers.
Is Li Weiqing playing?
I honestly can't remember at this point. But I don't think Li Weiqing. I don't remember seeing his name. No, he's not playing.
Okay, so you're saying that Ke Jie is not one of the seeds?
No. So this is the strange thing. So Ke Jie isn't one of the seeds, but I've heard reports that it was already decided that the wild card will go to Ke Jie.
You know my thoughts on that. I don't like the wild card not participating in the qualifiers.
Right. Yes. No.
Because basically, I think to be eligible for the wild card, you have to at least try to qualify through other means.
Yes.
Otherwise, you may as well just be a seed, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But,
But if that's how they want to do it, then whatever. I mean, I just don't see the point of not picking Koji as a seed if he's going to be the wild card.
Yeah. No, I haven't gotten news on exactly how the system works. Okay, another correction. Li Weiqing is playing in the qualifiers. He's in Group 10.
Okay.
So what I heard, and this is I'm getting only information in bits and pieces. So and there's no one has written up a proper article explaining how it works. But apparently in the Chinese national team, your chance to play in international tournaments works by some points-based system. And the points-based system works in such a way that maybe like every time you qualify for one, some of your points get used up. So you always to be made a seed, you have to kind of replenish your points in a way. And the best ways to replenish your points is by winning international tournaments or by coming or by making a final. So Kerje obviously hasn't done those things very well in the last 2 years. So apparently the story was that Kerje has used up all his points. So he cannot be a seed anymore, even though he's ranked number 1 in China. I don't think they may not have a seed just because of your ranking. You have to collect the points somehow. But it doesn't sound like these systems are very transparent. So it might just be an internal point system, only kept track of by the CWA. So apparently, for whatever reason, Kerje has used up all his points. So according to the rules of the CWA, he cannot be a seed. But the organizers have decided to give the wildcard to Kerje so he doesn't play in the qualifiers. Okay, so because it also doesn't really make sense for the Chinese number 1 to miss out on this tournament. This just sounds crazy. But that's as best a story I can tell. Keeping in mind all these sources are just things I heard in podcasts and whatever. So God knows what's happened.
Well, that's still very informative. Thanks for that.
Right, no worries. But I honestly don't know enough details to give you the full story. But crazy things have already happened. I mean, obviously, I do wish that Kerje had played in the qualifiers, so that, for example, if Kerje made it to the tournament just by himself, then maybe the wildcard could have gone to someone like Fan Tingyu or whatever.
But, yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And if Kerje ends up losing in the qualifiers, well, then you can just give him the wild card then. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But, for some strange reason, it's not. And based on one of Kerje's recent posts on social media, it looks like he's in Hong Kong enjoying some oysters. So, I don't know. But Kerje did post a picture of the oysters that he is having, and the IP location shows Hong Kong. So, we don't know. We don't know what's happened. Maybe they're having a vacation.
But that's it. That's interesting to me because, what if, for instance, they have Samsung Cup qualifiers?
Yeah.
And as you're saying, if what you're saying is true, and Kerje doesn't have any points to be a seed, they're not going to. Samsung is not going to give the wild card to Kerje.
Right.
So he's going to have to qualify for that.
Right. Yeah. Oh well, maybe he's used up his points for the Samsung. I've no idea. Again, this system is not very transparent, so from the outside, nobody knows exactly what's happened. So that's a problem.
Yeah. What I will say is from the article I've seen, there are 5 spots for Korea in this tournament. Right. No, 8 spots for Korea.
Yeah.
And 2 of them are seeds. So I'm pretty sure. So Shin Jin-so is going to be automatically seeded.
Yeah.
I don't know who the second seed will be. It could be Park Chun-won, it could be Byun Sang-il, it could be someone else.
Right. Yeah.
There are going to be 5 players from Japan.
Right.
2 of them will be seeds.
Yeah.
And given Japan's scheduling, who knows who's going to be the seeds there?
Yeah.
Chinese Taipei will have 2 players, 1 seed. I'm almost certain that's going to be Zhu Haihong.
Right.
1 qualifier from Europe and 1 qualifier from North America.
Yes.
My other question is, when will the Chuzhou Lanka International be held?
I do believe it's gonna be starting on Christmas Eve, so 24th of December, and right over to, it's already in the calendar, so it's Yeah, so I do believe it starts on the 24th of December. So let's look up the
So
exact dates.
these qualifiers have been held 4 months before the tournament.
Yes, that's right. So let's look at it. Did I? Oh, no, I might have remembered this wrong. No, I haven't. So let's look at this. So we're looking at December. So December, yeah. So 24th to 28th. That's when the Chuzhou Lanka Cup will be. Yeah.
All right, interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
I'm a bit surprised that they're having the qualifiers 4 months in advance because form can change and everything like that. But
yeah, I suspect maybe it's because they have to try and fit it into the schedule because of course LG Cup is coming, Samsung Cup is coming. They need to finish the Jia League. There's some domestic competition in China coming, which is the Minglian. That's coming up, and maybe more other competitions are restarting as well because the COVID situation has improved. Maybe, so maybe it might just be a scheduling thing, or maybe just convenience because having everyone in Chuzhou is not easy. So maybe after playing some other tournament, they want to have another tournament, right after, so they could connect them up, or whatever it may be. But yeah, that's what's happened. Oh, actually, I do want to show you this. This is apparently what Ke posted on his social media. So there's some oysters here. His IP location shows Hong Kong, and Ke says very delicious. So that's
fascinating.
Fascinating. Maybe he is in Hong Kong enjoying some cuisine down there, but no idea. All right, so that's a wrap for the Chuzhou Lanka Cup first 3 rounds. Still 2 more rounds to go, but already some big guns are out. So it'll be interesting to see who actually makes the tournament this way. And are there anything else you wanted to cover, Gaza, in this podcast? Yes.
I briefly mentioned Sumire's first opponent in the Discovery Cup was a notable person.
Right.
It turns out he is about to turn pro.
About to turn pro, right.
Yes, in Japan. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
He's very young.
Oh, the 9-year-old.
Yes.
Oh, crazy. Yeah.
We have a new record-setting professional.
I believe his name is Leo Fujita, but I'm not really sure.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Yes.
So perhaps his very first official game against a professional, was in the Discovery Cup against Sumire.
Right.
But he himself wasn't a professional.
Right. He's just 9 years and 4 months. Might be the youngest ever professional.
Yes. So Oh, actually, no. Sorry. It was a different Fujita that Sumire played. It turns out there were 2 Fujitas in Sumire's group.
Yeah.
But Leo Fujita still played in the Discovery Cup. He just didn't play Sumire.
Right.
But he's going to turn pro in September with the Kansai Kiin.
Yeah.
And he's 9 years and 4 months old, and that will make him for sure the youngest ever Japanese pro.
Yeah.
And we believe it will make him the youngest pro ever.
Right.
Or at the very least in modern history.
Yes.
From any country.
Yes.
The youngest that I could find was Cho Hun-hyun.
Yeah, Cho Hun-hyun.
The legendary Cho Hun-hyun, who turned pro age 9 years, 7 months.
Yeah.
There's also Yang Dingjing, who turned pro at 9 years and 9 months.
Yeah.
I can't find anyone else who turned pro before the age of 10.
Yes. I mean,
he could be the youngest ever professional.
Yeah. So, I mean, Yang Dingjing is definitely very, very impressive. Now, I did read one of Cho Han-kyun's interviews. He said that, like, when he turned pro in Korea, like maybe 40 years ago in Korea or whatever it was, a very long time ago.
60 years ago now.
Yeah, 60 years ago. Like, the Korean pros were 3 stones weaker than the current crop of Korean pros. So, at one point, the Korean pros weren't nearly as strong. So, Cho Han-hyun turning pro at 9 maybe isn't as impressive as what Yang Dingxin and had achieved. Now, of course, when Cho Han-hyun went to Japan, his strength was not considered pro, so it took, I believe, Cho Han-hyun a bit more time to turn pro in Japan back then. So it does give more weight to the theory that back then the Korean pros just weren't as strong collectively as a whole. So turning pro in Korea during those time, maybe it's not as impressive an achievement as what Yang Dingxin has done, or maybe what Fujita has done here. But I do believe Fujita, from the reports I read, he did play a top Kansai King pro, and the game was a no-komi game, and Neo Fujita only lost by, I believe, 7 points or 7.5 points. So at age 9, he played a top pro at no komi, and he only lost by 7 points. So I guess with komi he would have lost by about 14 points, but that's still pretty impressive for like 9-year-old. So it's crazy.
Yes, very impressive. I'm just trying to see if he's so I don't think he's technically turned pro yet.
Right.
I don't see him on the list of pros on the Kansai Ken webpage. Yeah. And from the article I read, it seemed to imply he was going to turn pro in September.
Right.
Just to go over, like I said, he competed in the Discovery Cup, and he played 3 games. He actually lost all 3 of his games, and 2 of those games were against other amateur players.
Right.
So he was still an amateur. Yeah. I can't say much about. I haven't seen the games. I can't say much about how promising he is. It's obviously very early days. I mean, literally speaking.
Yeah.
But I mean, it seems like he's gone through a similar system to Sumire turning pro. So
right.
In Japan, usually they have like this Insei sort of group, and all of the Inseis or something, they sort of have this ranking that they release every month.
Right.
And then I think they have like these qualifiers and like the top performers in the qualifiers.
Yeah.
And on the rankings turn pro. But Sumire didn't do any of that. So Sumire turned pro with this special sort of gifted child initiative.
Yeah.
And like it's quite clear that whatever this program was that selected Sumire worked out very well, because Sumire has proven herself
correct.
More than capable of being a professional. She's already, no doubt, one of the top 10 women in Japan, and arguably top 5.
Yeah.
And it seems like this Leo Fujita guy is being selected in the same way. I'd imagine he wasn't an Insei.
Yeah, no.
So, if it worked for Sumire, it probably will work for him. And in his interview, he says he wants to be the best player in the world.
Yes.
Like that's what he aims to be. So at least he's not he's aiming big, and if he's willing to put in the work to do what he wants to do, who knows? Who knows what he can achieve? It's very, very early days at the moment, but
I think he also mentioned Shin Jin-so in his interview as well.
Oh, what did he say about Shin Jin-so?
Like maybe something like he wants to be like him or something. Probably something like that. Okay, maybe just a bit more detail about the system that selected him. Now, apparently they had to go through a panel, and if I remember correctly, I believe it's a panel of 7 players from Kansai King, and I think one of them had to play a game with him, and the other assessment criteria is that he has to submit a Kifu, and they would be assessed by this committee of 7 pros. Now, I do believe these 7 pros have to be in the top 10 in terms of prize money earned, maybe in the previous year. So it's basically like the top 10, like 7 of the top 10 pros by prize money from Kansai King last year have assessed this 9-year-old. And I do believe the voting went something like 6-1. So 6 pros agreed that he should become a pro. He should be, get admitted as a pro, and 1 disagree. So obviously, So
there's no details on who those 7 pros were.
No, not that I can remember if they did mention it, but yeah. But I do believe it's restricted to top 10 prize money in Kansai King, so it couldn't be that far off if you just make a guess based on if you.
I just find it weird that like players like Yu Jingqi, Yuki Satoshi, Murakawa Daisuke would be, part of this panel. Like, I just imagine they just wouldn't care. It's like,
maybe
it's
maybe,
like, he's a good pro, but I'm trying to win games here.
Wow. You gotta.
But I do remember that Iyama himself was involved in the selection of Sumire.
Right.
So
So
maybe this is sort of considered part of their job, not just to play games, but to also
part of their duties.
Help not only nurture the next generation, but even determine the next generation.
I mean, I would imagine that it would be part of their jobs if you want to be a pro at Nihon King or whatever, or Kansai King. That's part of your job. So that's
just scary. That'd just be scary though. You're 9 years old. You gotta get judged by 7 of the best pros in Kansai region.
So that's that. But is there anything else you wanted to mention, Gaza?
No, not really. Shall we go on to what's happening next week?
Let's look at the calendar. What's happening next week? I do believe we have obviously the Chuzhou Lanka Cup. The last 2 rounds will be played.
So we'll know 10. We will know 10 qualifiers, 10 Chinese qualifiers.
Yes.
That will be exciting. I'm really excited to see who the 10 are. There's so many that have already been eliminated. And obviously I'm extremely bummed that Wang Xinghao will not be one of them. Is Tu Xiaoyu still in it?
Yeah, Tu Xiaoyu is there, but Jing Yucheng is not. Li Haotong is also not. So 3 of the top 4 youngsters are already out. So Tu Xiaoyu, I believe, is the one still there. Actually, I haven't checked the results today, so hopefully Tu Xiaoyu hasn't been knocked out yet. But I'm not 100% sure at this point.
Is that a rogue J-League round that I see in the middle of the week?
Yeah, well, it's not a rogue J-League round. I think we did mention something like this. Like after the first 8 rounds, I think round 9 to 13 we will play as a home and away series. So they will just play on one day. That's like all the teams will play home and away. So that it could be like this could be the home games for 8 of the teams or something. So they will play J-League 1 week and then 1 week and 1 week until round 14 and 15 in the postseason are all played centrally in Chengdu. So maybe they are trying to see if they can restart J-League because the COVID situation has improved maybe.
Okay.
So that's what's happening. I do believe there's some Samsung Cup prelims in Korea.
Yes. So Samsung Cup. I'll just quickly mention how the Samsung Cup prelims actually start on the 23rd, not the 22nd.
Right.
I believe. Yes. Yeah. They start on the 23rd. To the 26th. So I just want to quickly mention. I'll just very, very quickly mention. So the Samsung Cup selection for Korea, it's going to be the same as it was last season.
Right.
For those that didn't know what happened last season, what happens is there are going to be, in this case, there's going to be 9 qualifying spots for Korea.
Right.
7 of them are in the open section. So all professionals can compete in that one.
Right.
There is going to be 1 spot for women.
Right.
Okay. Now that was where that's how Cho Shonga got selected.
Right.
Last season, she beat Choi Jong.
Right.
So Choi Jong is going to try and qualify through the women's section.
Right.
And there is one spot for seniors.
Right.
And that's how Lee Chang-ho got selected last year. And obviously he's going to try and go through that section as well.
Yeah.
Just to also be clear, just because there's a seniors and a women's section doesn't mean that if you're a senior or a woman, you have to compete in those sections. You can, if you want, try and qualify through the open section.
Right.
But yeah, we'll go through that next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you basically have to win 4 or 5 games to qualify. So there's going to be about 5 rounds. And the first half of the qualifiers will be next week.
Awesome. Okay, just a quick update. Tu Xiaoyu did make it to the semi-final of his group. So Tu Xiaoyu is the only kind of young generation, the player of the younger generation that's still in it. All right.
Right.
Right. Okay. And of course, that will be the Chuzhou Lanka Cup International Prelim. Also, I do see what's his Kiriyama Cup semi-final, Ichiyuki versus Hirata Tomoya.
Yeah, so the Kiriyama Cup is probably Japan's biggest tournament outside the majors.
Yep.
So Ichiriki is going to be in that semi-final. I've literally never heard of his opponent before. Literally never.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Obviously, if he wins, he'll be definitely more notable.
Yeah.
There's also Yuno Asami is playing in a Judan prelim on Thursday.
Yes.
If she wins, she'll make the Judan tournament proper.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as expected, she's got an extremely tough opponent, though.
Yeah.
Takao Shinji, it doesn't get much harder than that in terms of a prelim.
Yeah, so one of the 4 heavenly kings of the past generation.
Yeah, and he's still a Kisei S-Liga.
Yes,
so.
I think Takao did beat Yama this year.
He did beat a Yama in the opening game of the S-League. So that will be a tough... That would be a very prominent win if Yuno Asami pulls that off. Good luck to her.
Yeah, and of course we have GX Caltex Cup Game 3. That's about it.
Yeah. Game 3 on Monday, possibly Game 4 on Tuesday, Game 5 on Wednesday. We both think it will finish on Game 3, but Bjorn Sengel can win a game. Yeah. I don't think he's going to win all 3, but he could win one.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to see.
Let's see. Yeah, not the way he played those first 2 games.
Yeah, so all right, so that looks like it's gonna be a wrap, and well, thanks Gaza for turning up again.
No worries.
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
All right.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Okay,
bye.
See you. Okay, bye.